Hello and welcome to our channel, where we share heartwarming stories of animals who have overcome adversity and found their happily ever after. Today, we have a particularly special story to share with you. It is the story of David, a man who saved the lioness and her cubs. Are you ready to hear David's story? Let's get started. Although David grew in Spain, he had always been fascinated by the wildlife of East Africa, and he spent much of his time exploring the vast Ngorongoro plain. On this particular day, he was driving his truck through the savannah when he spotted something unusual behind a group of rocks. As he got closer, he realized that it was a lioness, and she was growling at him. At first, David was terrified and reached for his gun, ready to defend himself. But as he looked closer, he realized that the lioness was not attacking him. In fact, she seemed to be in pain, and David noticed that her foot was caught in a trap. He was relieved that the lioness was not trying to harm him, but he was horrified that such a majestic animal had been subjected to such cruelty. David knew that he had to do something to help the lioness. He tried to approach her, hoping to free her from the trap, but she swiped at him with her massive paw, keeping him at bay. David retreated, knowing that the lioness was too injured and frightened to allow him to get close. But as he looked at the lioness, he noticed something else that concerned him. Her belly was swollen with milk, which meant that she had cubs nearby who were probably hungry and in need of their mother's care. David knew that he had to find the cubs and bring them back to their mother. He searched the area until he found some tracks that he followed to a thicket of tall grass. There, he discovered 3 small lion cubs, mewing for their mother. David carefully picked up the cubs and carried them back to the trapped lioness. As soon as the lioness saw her cubs, she roared with joy and renewed her efforts to break free from the trap. David was worried that she might hurt herself, so he gently placed the cubs on the ground and stepped back. The cubs immediately ran over to their mother and began nursing. The lioness licked and nuzzled her cubs, grateful to have them back with her. David watched with tears in his eyes, knowing that he had done something special for these animals. He realized that he had formed a bond with the lioness and her cubs, and he felt a deep sense of gratitude towards them. David observed the family's reunion from a safe distance. He was happy to have returned the cubs to their mother, but he still had to figure out how to free her. He sat with the lioness for a while, speaking soothingly to her and promising to return. David went to his truck and searched the area until he found a zebra carcass. He cut off a large piece of meat, hoping it would give the lioness some energy, and returned to her. The lioness was no longer hostile and seemed pleased to see him, especially when he presented the meat. While the lioness ate, David approached her and tranquilized her so he could loosen her paw from the trap. He tried to encourage the lioness to enter the truck, where he had already placed the cubs in a kennel. However, he didn't notice that the lioness had stopped eating and was now close to him. When he looked up, he saw the lioness standing right in front of him. Instead of attacking, the lioness merely stood there, injured and unable to walk properly. David wanted to get the lioness into the truck before the tranquilizer took effect, so he gently urged her to move. The lioness seemed to understand and did something unexpected. She ran her head against him, much like a domestic cat. David secured the lioness in the truck and drove to the reserve where he lived. There, he and the other workers tended to the lioness's injuries and cared for the cubs. Over the course of a few months, the lion family formed a close bond with David. When it was time for them to be released back into the wild, the lioness cuddled with him one last time before they parted ways. A few years later, David came across a pride of lions resting under a tree where he used to have lunch. One of the lionesses saw him and approached him. At first, David was worried he might be attacked, but as the lioness got closer, he realized it was one of the cubs he had saved. The lioness nuzzled his head against David, just as his mother had done years before. David laughed and cautiously petted the lioness before he returned to his pride. David was thrilled that the cub remembered him and what he had done for its family. He said goodbye and returned home. Let us know in the comments how you find this story. If you love this heartwarming story and want to see more like it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified when our next story goes live. See you in the next one.